All right, lads, it is Friday. You know what that means? It's time for a funny Magic the Gathering video. And as I teased last week, we have a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to skip the pleasantries and just start with the rules for this monstrosity. So every legendary creature, aka commander viable creature from Murders at Karlov, is going to be sort of looked at. And by looked at, I mean like glanced at because we have a lot of cards to look at. I will not be including the clue cards for two reasons. One, they're bad, and two, um, I don't know. They didn't they seem like the least interesting cards of all time to me. And yeah, this is as you're gonna see for the rest of this video. Um, this is an opinion piece, and I'm sort of just going with it. But speaking of opinion, the other rule is I am sort of gonna have my little diatribe and then rate the card, not like on a numeric scale, like 1 to 10, but more so just like if I think the card is good or not as a commander. And obviously, this is not an opinion because, well, it's my video, so this is not up for discussion. Anything I say is just right, and whatever the peasants decide to conflict or be contrarian with, um, doesn't matter. Anyway, we're gonna get back into it. So I don't remember the order of these guys, so let's just start knocking them out. So Krenko is Krenko's a card. I think this is like the third or fourth Krenko card we have, and I feel like this card suffers the same way that all the other Krenko cards suffer, in that none of them are really as good as the original Krenko. Like the original Krenko sort of like set a standard that the rest of the Krenkos just always fail to meet. But granted, this Krenko is pretty good. You know, he only costs 3. He can immediately tap, so you can automatically activate his ability like as soon as he hits the field, and then you can make goblins with it. So this creature is actually okay. I wouldn't put him as a commander. I'd rate him like poorly, to be honest. I'd probably put him in the 99 for like an OG Krenko. But like, aside not as a card, he's okay. I just wouldn't put him as my commander, like ever. But I don't know. I think he's okay. Anyway, Aurelia adds a lot of words. So Flying Vigilance Haste 4/4 for 5, not bad. Definitely more in line with what we've been seeing with some of the newer sets and newer cards. Although honestly, for a newer set card, I would expect her power and toughness to be higher. But she also has a lot of other stuff. So whenever a player attacks with 3 more creatures, you draw a card, which can be anyone. And whenever a player attacks with 5 more creatures, again, can be anyone, then Aurelia deals 3 damage to each opponent and you gain 3. So this punishes your opponents for playing the game, and it rewards you for playing the game, which is, I mean, all you can really ask for. So obvious Boros shenanigans. Um, this this card probably asks for you to run a large quantity of creatures, so probably tokens, which white's good with. And then it's got damage, got life gain, which red and white work very nicely with. So overall, I rate it. It's okay. I haven't really seen a commander with this one like ever, but hey, let me know if you have, because this one looks okay. Anyway, Teysa just wants to investigate clues. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's really everything. Just an Orzhov 2/3 with Death Touch that does investigating based on Lost Life, and then it gives you some tokens. Definitely a 99 card, not a commander. I rate this poorly. Anyway, Izoni is a 5/4 6 cost Golgari creature with Menace and with an ETB or attack effect that has you collecting evidence and creating 2 tokens if you do. And it lets you sacrifice tokens to survey 2 and draw 2, which is an okay loop. For 6, I'm not sure how it's really going to look. I mean, I ugh, I wouldn't even say Spider Tribal. I don't know what this commander would want. For that reason, I can't really rate it good or bad. I don't really know. I think it look the abilities look okay. I'm not too familiar with collecting evidence, but it looks decent. Anyway, Kylox is a 7 cost 4/4, which is an insane mana cost to power toughness ratio these days. But it's got Menace, Ward 2, and Haste, which is okay. And so it can attack right away, which helps with its second ability, letting you sacrifice any other creatures and then exiling the total power's worth of those creatures in terms of cards off the top, which just lets you go storm out with instants and sorceries. I actually think this card is really good, as long as you have the mana for it. So I think the only really real issue you run into here is that it gives you free instants and sorceries to cast, which is good, but you're an Izzet, which means you need a lot of artifacts to make that 7 cost work fast. But then the ability also has you sacrificing creatures. So you need a lot of instants and sorceries and a lot of artifacts and a lot of creatures to make it work. So you basically just need a lot of everything, which means you're probably not going to be able to capitalize off of the free instants and sorceries as much as you would probably want to. Although I could definitely see an argument made for just having high power creatures and then exiling into really strong, like 1 or 2 sorcery spells. That also totally works. Anyway, pretty good. Tulsimir is a Selesnya elf with lifelink, which creates Voha, which we will be talking about much later, and then giving you an effect whenever a wolf attacks. Which I think Tulsimir is okay. It has a couple of good effects. Probably Wolf Tribal if this guy's your commander, although I'm gonna be real with you. I have not seen a single commander deck run by this guy either. So you know? Anyway, Kellen is Simic, which is automatically gross, but we'll give him a chance. Flying Vigilance on attack destroys 1 target artifact, and then if you controlled it, you draw a card, which is pretty good. So either you destroy an opponent's thing, or you get card draw off of breaking your own stuff, which is pretty cool. And then it has a sorcery adventure to investigate and play an additional land, which altogether this is a pretty versatile card. I'd say it's okay. Okay, it might be good. I don't have a lot of experience with this card either. That's going to be a recurring theme as well. Sorry, but it's Simic, so it'll get carried by its colors. So I'm not concerned, honestly. And I say that as someone who enjoys Simic. So anyway, Judith is a Rakdos card, which automatically makes it good in my books. But I got to try to be unbiased here. So whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you either give that spell Deathlatch or Lifelink, which is insane for damage spells. I'm looking at Lightning Bolt. And then, or you can create a 2/2 red imp creature that deals damage on death. We're ignoring the second thing here. The first one is insane. I'm sorry. Deathlatch and Lifelink is crazy for a spell. Just load it up with damage doublers and go to town with Lightning Bolt. I don't. It's good. This is a good card. Lazav Demir makes me hate this card, but um, on attack, you exile a card from the graveyard, then investigate, and then whenever you sacrifice that clue, from investigating, you can have Lazev become a copy of a creature that was exiled with it. It only lasts until end of turn, but it means that basically this card gets better as you kill more things, which you're in Dimir, so that's awesome. Counterspells also work for that matter. So this is just a gross Dimir card. I'd rate it good. I'd say this is one of the few Dimir cards where you could probably actually win by commander damage. But yeah, solid. Uh, Ezrin is Azorius. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. So it's a 5/5 with flying for 5, which is already good. On ETB, you investigate twice, which is also okay. And then you can sacrifice an artifact for 1, giving Ezrim a choice of abilities until end of turn. Um, I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip the opinion piece. This card's okay. Like it's just mediocre. It's a 99 card style thing. Unless you want to do like Clue, Typal, or Tribal, or whatever you call it. I wouldn't, but it's okay. You do you. Yaris, God bless Gruul. Thank God we have some good representation. Either way, 4/4 for 4, giving other creatures haste. And then it works with face down creatures, apparently, giving the ability that whenever one or more face down creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card, and then whenever a face down creature you control dies, you can return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control if it's a permanent card, then turn it face up. So basically, whenever you attack with your face down creatures, if any of them connect, you draw, and if those face down creatures die, you return them to the battlefield and then flip them up. So if you have a way to get really high cost creatures out on the field, like face down, like if you manifest them or however you choose to do it, and then they die, you just profit. I'm looking at World Spineworm. I'm looking at Emrakul. Like you get you can get some gross value off of that. Either way, good. Thumbs up. Good card. Niv Mizzet is disappointing me. This is a 6/6 for 5 with flying hexproof multicolored, but I'm counting that 5 cost as being more because it's one of each, which is always a pain in the it's always a pain in the butt to get that off. But he has another ability saying that whenever he deals combat damage to a player, it'll deal X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards, you gain X life, blah blah blah. um, and X is the number of different color pairs. So basically, this is literally just like the Ravnica card. So it's all about guilds, right? So each guild is a color pair. It's like Aurelia, Boros, red, white. Each one of those color pairs you get that are different on the field gives you 1 tick towards that ability. So whenever you hit, if you say 5 different color pairs, all those X values become 5, which are good. It's just that it's not. It requires a lot of setup, which is doable, but for that cost, and also that doesn't have haste, and just an overall lack of options if for some reason you can't get through damage. I don't know. This card just gives me an iffy vibe. It's probably because it's just not as strong as the Perun variant, but that one's just goofy. Overall, I don't know. It's okay. It's definitely one of the better cards I've seen so far, but it's just, I don't know, a little disappointing for Niv, but whatever. Hopefully he gets his glow up in another set. Either way, Pride of Hulklade is my pride and joy. This is my son. Mostly because he's got 15 toughness, but also because he's a crocodile and an elk and a turtle. Either way, it's an 11 cost, but it's not really. It's basically 1 because it costs X less, where X is the total toughness creature you control. So Arcades players rejoice, but we're here to talk about this guy as a commander for himself. He's got Defender, but you can pay 4 to give creatures you control +1/+0, and then
Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equals its toughness, aka this guy draws you 15 cards, and then they can attack as though they didn't have defender. So basically, you play this guy for 1, wait a turn, pay 4, swing, draw 15 cards, repeat. I don't care if he's meta, he's goated. He's incredible. So far, he's number 1. I will not accept any other argument. Goated. Anyway, Master Girl. 4/4 menace. Creatures you control have Wither, which is just infect but worse, but it's still good. It's still good. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. So basically, you want to kill stuff with -1/-1 counters. You want to get them their toughness to 0 through infect or whatever, what have you. And that's really all there is to it. You literally just play creatures, kill things. That's it. And yeah, I don't know. She's good for a mono black creature. She does her thing. Probably a 99 card, but I'd still say she's okay. Donny. I literally never heard of this creature before. Either way, it's a 2/2 human. With creatures you control with power 2 or less cannot be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, which basically just means that your little guys can't be blocked by their big guys. And then it has an ability trigger doubler for creatures with power 2 or less. So, if this card was Boros, I'd say Dockside, and then the rest is history. But it's not, so I'm gonna have to say mid. Mid is a commander in the 99, probably really good if you're running like a low power deck, not like literally low power deck, but like fuck, not low power deck. I mean like low power creatures deck. Yeah, look, it makes sense. Overall, I think this creature's actually good, just not as a commander. You feel me? Mostly because it's mono white. Anyway, I spoiled this guy, but we're gonna go over him anyway. So this is Tomic, an Orzhov 2/4, which is only a human, even though he's literally riding a gargoyle. But we're gonna whatever, it's fine. It's got affinity for planeswalkers, which is honestly, I don't know how to feel about that. Like it can only make it cost 1 less. So we're not really running that many planeswalkers. We don't need to unless you're looking for tax. But I don't know. I'm not feeling it. It's got flying vigilance. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking and you and or planeswalkers you control, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw cards. So basically, if an opponent attacks you or your stuff with 2 or more creatures, they lose 3 and you draw. There's nothing really else to say about this. Like, I don't really see the strategy here for this card as a commander, which is why I'm going to say it's 99. I don't know. It's like it's a good card, just like not a commander card. Melek is an Izzet creature with power toughness each equal to twice the number of instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Which, yeah, it's Izzet. The spells, yeah, this makes sense. And then it makes the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn cost 3 less, which is, oh, that's good. That's real good. I'm looking at Expropriate. I'm looking at every single instant or sorcery spell that makes things go boom. I'm looking at every single expensive spell in the game, basically. This is a good card. This is a good card. Spell slingers love this. Storm players love this. Really good design overall, especially with the power toughness bit. That's nice. Trostani. We're getting to the good cards now. You can tell. Trostani is a 4/4 for 3, which is already good. And then with 3 abilities, this is kind of like Baby Kenrith on almost, because like it's like Kenrith, but like just much worse. It's got 2 colors instead of 5, and then 3 abilities instead of 4. Or does Kenrith have 5 abilities? I don't remember. Either way, it's got a bunch of abilities that give creatures things, which is
Honestly, when I first saw this card, I thought it was going to be bad, and then I realized you can pay 3 mana to give a World Spine double strike, and like, you know what? I'm sold. Yeah, that's fine. Death Touch is also crazy for her ability. So yeah, honestly, this card I'd say pretty good. Definitely not bad, especially if you have a lot of mana to spare, which you're in green, you will. So honestly, yeah, pretty good. Then we have Agris. I think I pronounced that right. I probably didn't. Who's a 4 cost Boros 2/4 with double strike vigilance, so basically a 4/4. And then on ETB or attack, you can choose it to one target creature and suspect it, or exile it if you've already suspected it. So I'm guessing this is sort of just like one of those creatures where you want to have lots of ETB effects and attack effects. I mean, you probably get this guy out for damage because he's got double strike. Um, Extra combats, maybe. I don't know. This guy, like, I see a lot of potential here, but I honestly don't know how I would build him. Honestly, overall, I think he's okay. I'll say he's okay because I just don't know. I just don't know what I'm doing with this guy. But I feel like I'm underselling him, so I'll try not to slander him anymore here. Etrata is a deadly fugitive because that death touch is really saying something. But it's a 3 cost, 1/4, getting face down creature to control an ability that costs 4 to turn it face up, which is pretty good if you're running a lot of creatures. And then if you can't exile it and then cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. So what I'm hearing is big damage, big damage, and then it gives you a little outlet for getting those face down cards, saying that whenever assassin control deals combat damage to an opponent, you can cloak top card of that player's library. Basically, you're going to want to have ways to get your library and your opponent's library onto the field as face down creatures, and then pay a bunch of mana, turn them all up, and then profit. And you have an outlet to do that for your opponent's library, so you really just want to look for a way to do it to your library. Honestly, pretty good. Then we have Vanifar. This card scares me, mostly because it's Simic, but also because it has a combat ability to cloak a card from your hand or put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control. The issue, the issue with this is you could run it as a cloak deck, or you could run it as an Eldrazi deck. Both options are viable, and that's what scares me. Um, Hopefully, no one chooses the Eldrazi bit. This card's pretty good. Rakdos. Rakdos is Rakdos, but this is honestly, I'd probably say his weakest iteration. If not either him or the Defiler. One of those two are the weakest. But this guy, he's definitely not as good as I feel he should be for 6, especially. Flying Trample, getting your end step, an opponent can sacrifice 2 non-land non-token permanents, and if they don't, you draw 2. So it's basically saying they have to sacrifice something viable or valuable, and if they choose not to, you draw 2. Problem is, it's at the beginning of your end step and your end step only, so drawing 2 extra cards at the end of your turn. If someone doesn't get rid of stuff, especially as the only ability of a 6 cost, it I'm not feeling it. I might be crazy, but I'm definitely not feeling it. Like the Rakdos the Muscle is so much better than this. Even I'd say even Lord of Riots is better than this. Lord of Riots is old, so this guy I'd say is okay. Maybe in the 99, maybe as a commander. I don't know, to be honest. I'd say he's okay. Yeah, that's my final answer. Um, I have Proft, who is Azorius, which so I hate him already. We got Vigilance. He investigates on ETB, and then you can pay 3 and then X, tap him, sacrifice clue to draw X cards against life, where X in both cases will be the X cost of the mana you pay. So what I am gathering from this is basically he ETBs, you create a clue, you stockpile an enormous amount of mana,
You pay that mana, tap them, sacrifice that clue you got in the ETB, and you just draw. You just draw as many cards as you can to look for a win con. Um, I'd say it's okay. I think there are cards that do what he does, but better. Like, Arcanus, I think does it this better. Um, which I should build that Arcanus deck, but this card, I think this card does its job well. I just think it's not the best what it does. So as a commander, I'd say it's good, but not like good, you know? Either way. Andrag, Rule, my beloved. It's an 8/4, which means I already love it. For 4 is which 4 is awesome. Whenever this guy becomes blocked, you get an extra combat phase while untapping all other creatures you control, which is really funny, especially with its other ability, which costs 7, but is definitely worth it because it means that Andrax must be blocked each combat this turn if able, which basically means as long as there's a creature that is alive and can block Andrag, you get as many combats as you want. Great for combat decks, great for damage decks, great card. I don't This is a card where like I would love to try to see if I can push it into like CDH, and it would probably fall flat in high power, but it looks really fun. Like I would enjoy making this card. Honestly, great card, great commander. Like 9 out of 10. Anyway, um, Voha is goofy. 5 cost 5/5, Vigilance Trample Ward 3. That's already really good. But it's got a triggered ability, which means that whenever it attacks, you put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control, and then draw a card for each wolf you control. So basically, elves and wolves tribal. X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control is crazy, especially because elves are going to be your mana dorks here. And then drawing cards for each wolf you control is also nuts, especially in Naya, where like they probably could use the card draw. This card's really good. This card's stupid good. Like this is probably the best card in the set, just from a commander standpoint. Like crazy. 10 out of 10. Great card. Anyway. Oh yeah, I forgot. So that was all the like the normal Karlov cards, right? But like halfway through making this slideshow, I sort of realized I should probably do the commander cards too, just to be sort of fair about it. So we're gonna we're gonna do that now. All right, we're sort of Toscana, which is definitely my favorite of the commanders for the commander cards. Um, it's essentially just 2/2 tribal, which means bears. But it's Naya, which is really good because it means whenever a creature you control base power 2/2 attacks, gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So bears, but also Kubo. Hear me out. I know I didn't put it here, but Kubo is a legendary bear that's Lesnia, so it works with this commander's color identity, and it makes every other creature a 2/2 bear. Yours and your opponent's. So you played this card, you played Kubo. Everything is 2/2. You draw a card for every creature you control, and every creature gets +3/+3 until end turn. Play that, and something like Elish Norn, you're cooking. You're cooking. They're cooked because all their creatures are like normal 2/2s. It's over for them. Like you're solid. Goated commander. Awesome potential. Sophia is a 3/4 detective, which creates a token on ATB. It's okay. You can pay 1 and sacrifice an artifact token to put a counter on each dog you control. And then whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, you create a food token, then investigate. So, tokens? Lots of tokens, probably. Tokens, triggered abilities, activated abilities, all that stuff. You're going to be like, this is like the token profit deck. Honestly, yeah, pretty good. Kaust is a Naya Dryad. I probably pronounced that name horribly. Um, that says whenever a creature you control that was turned face up this turn deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, and then you can tap them to turn a face down attacking creature you control face up. So this is the Eldrazi deck. This right here, because you literally just tap this guy and the 2/2 is actually Emrakul. That's crazy. That's actually insane. This is a scary looking commander. Yeah, this is a really good card. All right, Morska is a Vidalcan fish, which gives you an infinite hand size, lets you investigate at the beginning of your upkeep, and then says whenever you draw your second card each turn, put 2 counters on Morska. This is a pretty good card for its colors. Green, white, blue, you want a lot of cards, which is good because you have no maximum hand size. Lets you investigate, which is a net positive. And then it rewards you for drawing cards, giving you counters on your commander. Overall, really solid, really good. Mirko is a vampire detective with flying and vigilance. That says whenever you survey, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. And then at the beginning of your end step, you may return a creature with power less than Mirko's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it.
For the uninitiated, a finality counter is a counter that says whenever this creature dies, it gets exiled. So basically, it's a one last chance type thing. But that doesn't really matter because we can just remove counters whenever we want with some spells. The important thing is here, you want to survey a lot and then bring back really strong creatures. So play like Buried Alive, Entomb, that kind of stuff. Search for like big creatures, survey, get a bunch of counters on this guy, wait for the end of your turn, bring back something huge. It'd be really funny. Trust. Overall, pretty good. Then we have Nelly Borka. Um, this is a whole card. Whenever this creature attacks, you suspect a creature, then go to all suspected creatures. So you want a lot of combats. You want to go everything, which will really help you. And then whenever one of the creatures an opponent controls deals combat damage to one or more of your opponents, you and the controller of those creatures each draw cards. So basically, everyone draws some cards, and then you draw a lot of cards. I'd say this is like almost group huggy, but like in the worst way possible, because you're getting everyone to slap each other in the face while you sort of just sit there. So they're definitely going to turn on you as soon as they get the opportunity. Although, I will say, this is a very annoying card, so it does its job well. Pretty good. We have Feather, Flying Lifelink 4/3 for 3, which is pretty good. That says whenever you cast a non-creature spell that targets only Feather, you may choose any number of other creatures that spell could target and pay 2 for each of those creatures. If you do, you copy that spell for each of those creatures that you paid the mana for, with that copy targeting that creature. Basically, that is a really long-winded way of saying if you target Feather with a spell, you can pay 2 and copy that spell to target another creature that can be targeted. Pretty good overall. Nothing really left to say about that. Marvo is a Dimir octopus with 8 toughness, which is crazy. That has you clash with the defending player that you attack with. And whenever you win a clash, you draw a card, and then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less for free. So basically, you just want to be attacking, clashing, and then having lots of like 7-cost spells, just so you can utterly abuse that ability. That's actually crazy. I don't know if this guy is like commander viable because he seems really slow. Because this didn't Demir, so you can't really get extra combats. Not really, anyway. But the ability looks cool, so there's that. And the 8 or less is pretty solid. That's most creatures. So overall, yeah, this card's pretty good. And that about wraps it up. I am tired, so I am gonna end this video just like that. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you next one. Peace.